Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of the Benchwarmer Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Raffi, as always, joined by Davian. Peter, unfortunately, can't join us today. He's too busy talking to all of his prom dates, trying to narrow
Yeah.
down who he's
Hey,
going to take to
Selection
prom.
Sunday
So
tomorrow. It's gonna be a big day.
we will
tomorrow.
have the Selection Sunday tomorrow. It will not be live, unfortunately, but we will have reporters there. I believe Adam Schefter is making the trip. Ian Rappaport, I also heard, was also planning on being there. Bobby Margarita, Bob McKenzie also will be there. So you guys won't want to miss the official announcement. So be sure to check Twitter. I'm sure it'll be all over Twitter. But anyways, Davian, because you're here and because I'd like to know, how are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. All right. So I found the prom date. I might have gone 1 for 8, but it's okay.
Hey, you're better than Klay Thompson.
Exactly. We're better than Klay Thompson. We're better than Jason Tatum the other night. So it's not bad. It could have been worse. Yeah, she's really nice and everything. So it's gonna be a fun night. Rafi, how you been? I feel like Rafi, like in the podcast, you always ask us how we're doing, but we never really ask you how you're doing.
And now we begin the hour-long dialogue into my entire background of what is – no, I'm kidding. So thank you for asking. Me personally, I am doing great right now. The Chicago Blackhawks, if you don't know by now, have won the NHL draft lottery. Now, I know you might be saying, Rafi, you're so humble. Are you really a Blackhawks fan? Yes. And Rafi, did you really know about Connor Bedard going first overall? Yes, because it was live on TikTok, Benchwarmer_sports. Be sure to follow us on TikTok. I had an absolute field day. It was glorious seeing everyone, the other 31 teams' fan bases cry. I enjoyed drinking all of their tears. It was hilarious. Oh boy, that was a majestic
It wasn't
day.
rigged. For those people who are saying it was rigged, it was not rigged.
See, everyone was talking about how the Blackhawks needed to lose that first-round pick and it should have been stripped, yada, yada, yada. But if they had gotten third, no one would be saying anything. So just because the Blackhawks got a generational talent, people are up in arms. I get why they want the Blackhawks to be punished more, but you can't pick and choose. You either should have just said the Blackhawks shouldn't have gotten this pick, yada, 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 or you should have just been like, okay, like I'm just upset because the Blackhawks dynasty is back and we're going to win another 3 cups in a few years. And we're just going to we are the evil empire now in the NHL. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I am all for it right now. Davian,
right?
I need some recommendations. How is it being the evil empire as you are a Patriots fan, especially during the dynasty years? How do you handle those other fans other peasants?
Yeah. So, Rafi, I wouldn't get too excited. Okay, you still got a good amount of time before you become an evil empire dynasty, whatnot. You just gotta keep your head up and then just look at your glorious rings, or in your case, the glorious Stanley Cup. Really, I think it's just kind of being a fan of a team that suddenly becomes good and then being accused of being like a bandwagon is always tough. But you're also able to tell who is the bandwagon and who isn't. Because if those people don't know about the old players, the old teams, like, the bad times, I feel like then you're able to kind of get them out. So you just stick with the team, with your fan base that is the real fan base. And the real fan base is not it's not the fans that are going to the games, I would say, but more so the fans that you see like on the Reddit pages and whatnot that are talking and arguing and whatnot. That's just my general take. But yeah, no. Look, congrats to the Blackhawks. It's Connor Bedard. He's insane. All right. And his personality is one of just a winning mindset. He doesn't care about the records. He's in it to win it, and I think there's, he's a generation talent. Hopefully, knock on wood. And hopefully he doesn't flounder like some of the other first-round picks that we've seen. Top 10 first-round picks that we've seen in the NHL in the past few years. But overall, yeah, I think it's great. It's exciting. And, as much as that is exciting, I'm more excited about the fact that Tom Brady is returning to the New England Patriots with opening week to celebrate, his 20-plus year career of being a Patriot. I'm very much excited about that. I know, Rafi, that you probably don't share that same excitement, but I think it just goes to show that Brady hasn't forgotten about the Patriots. He once a Patriot, always a Patriot. He will have a statue built for him outside the stadium. No doubt about that. His jersey will be hanging off the rafters in Gillette Stadium. And I can't wait for that to happen.
Real quick, going back to the topic about bandwagons, I always found it funny when I was younger because people would call me a bandwagon. Like I was 8 when Patrick Kane scored the game-winning goal in 2010, and when I started getting into hockey, I'm not like I'm 8, I'm like
Right, yeah.
7 years old. So it's like you can't call me a bandwagon. I
Yeah.
live in Chicago. Like it's
Yeah.
hilarious. And now all the bandwagons are gone, and now it's a new era, a new dynasty is about to begin in Chicago. But yeah, I'm glad Tom Brady has, after a while, he ditched his family, but now he remembers his true love, the New England Patriots. I can't wait to see him have an awkward hug with Bill Belichick or an awkward handshake. That's going to be absolutely hilarious.
Indeed.
Anyways, moving on into more NFL stuff. So Darius Smith was very adamant that he wanted to leave the Vikings, and it's kind of sparked some controversy personally because he wanted out of Green Bay and then he wanted out of Minnesota. It's like, I don't know, like this guy's kind of being a little bit of a diva a little bit, but that's neither here nor there. I don't know the guy personally, so I can't comment truly on his character. But anyways, he got traded to the Browns, and it was for 2 fifth-round picks, and Zadarius Smith got traded to the Browns along with a 6th and a 7th, so very low risk, high reward type deal. Zadarius Smith's 30 years old, I believe. And I like this deal a lot for Cleveland. I think you line them up right across from Myles Garrett on the opposite side and just watch them wreak havoc. Now, it's a shame that they have a terrible, like their quarterback, Deshaun Watson. If he doesn't get things figured out, like how he clearly showed that he had no idea what he was doing last year. Now, granted, he doesn't know what he was doing quite often, even off the field. But anywho, Deshaun Watson was not good at all this past year. So if the Browns want any chance at being a playoff team, and Deshaun Watson's got to get his act together. Aside from that, it's really good for the Browns defense. So I like the Zadarius Smith addition.
I 100% agree with that. I think it was a good trade on both sides. Browns also reworked the contract. So I think overall it's very good. We do still have Leonard Floyd, who's a very good pass rusher in free agency. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes. Rumors are that he might go to the Eagles. Rumors are rumors. We're not going to really comment on that. Either way, I'm sure there's tons of teams looking out for someone like that. I think really post-draft, while you have a lot of undrafted free agents, I feel like these these veterans are not going to be going to these teams anytime soon. Until really the regular season, and week 4 of the preseason really hits, and all of a sudden you realize you need more depth. And there's some contracts. I think what goes I feel like as an NFL fan, I don't know if you feel this too, Raffi, but at one point in the season you're like, oh wait, this person's on this team now. I feel like what went really under the radar was Allen Robinson being traded to the Steelers. I think I mentioned that last week.
It's really funny. Sorry to cut you off. It's really funny because it feels like once a week I'll see someone say or write something where it's like, guys, Allen Robinson was such an under the radar, and it's hilarious because it pops up once a week where you just see it in the news cycle where everyone's like, Allen Robinson, great, but continue on with your
point. No, I mean it is you see it
I'm
all.
I'm glad we caught on to the trend too.
Yeah, I feel like everyone's kind of already caught on that oh, okay, Allen Robinson, he's a Steeler, understood. But for example, today I was reading the news James Robinson, the former Jaguar traded to the Jets, is apparently a New England Patriot. Did I know that? No, but apparently that's what it is. There's I feel like people forget that Baker Mayfield is a Buck. I mean, there's just things that happen earlier on in the season that get kind of lost, especially as we're in this kind of a dull moment really for NFL where it's post draft, but training camp hasn't started and the rookie camps haven't even started either. So. I mean, I that's why I think we should move on and talk about more exciting things, and that's the NBA. Rafi,
okay, you got to talk a little bit. You got to give me a bit of a rundown because in preparation for our podcast, which we're recording right now, which you guys are watching right now, hello. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope your day's going well. I didn't realize that we currently have a 7 seed and an 8 seed in the conference finals in the Lakers and the Heat, and Davian, you're gonna have to break this down. I have no clue what's going on.
Yeah,
right now. Everything
for sure.
I'm the teams of the Lakers, Nuggets, and Heat. From just my base and very low level of basketball knowledge, makes sense in my mind. I can see that probably because 2020 NBA Finals. But Davian, what in the world is going on? Please catch me up.
Yeah. Okay. So let's first start off with kind of the The series that we kind of knew was going to go this way, which was the Nuggets Suns. The Nuggets ended up winning because really Chris Paul was injured and Jokic just went like insane.
It
You
was
know,
so sad. I'm sorry to cut you off after just
no,
giving
no,
you
no,
the
keep going,
opportunity
keep
to
going.
speak. But Chris Paul, there was a time when Raffi was into basketball, and let me tell you, I loved the early 2010 Los Angeles Clippers with Chris Paul and Blake Griffin. One of my favorite teams in all of the NBA teams that I've watched in the past decade. I to see Chris Paul, all the slander, and every time all the stats of, oh, when Chris Paul does play for the Suns in the playoffs, they're this. But when he doesn't play, they're undefeated. And it just so sad because I loved Chris Paul, and once again, I do love those State Farm commercials.
Yeah,
In a past life, I
those are the
definitely
best.
worked for State Farm.
Yeah. So the Nuggets ended up winning that. The Suns had like Cameron Payne went off in the last game, 31 points. KD showed up, played well, but could have had more of an impact at some points. And I think that's kind of what you'll see all across the board of these losing teams where key players did not really show up to really play. In terms of the Nuggets, I mean, like, look, I mentioned how I saw the Nuggets play the Suns with just their role players, and I said that they are going to the finals. They're a very good team. I think really against the Lakers, I think they're gonna really beat them. I think that the Lakers won. I wouldn't say the Lakers beat the Warriors. I think the Warriors lost that series because I feel like because Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, other role players really did not play to their top game. We didn't really see Curry in the playoff Curry where he kind of goes off, and
But what
that's
about
what
Game
happened
Six,
there.
Klay Thompson? Game
Game
Six, Klay
six, Klay
Thompson, though.
Thompson did not really show up.
I thought he was a dog.
No, he
Can
was
we
not a
also
dog.
just can we
He
just
scored
highlight as
8 points
well?
yesterday. I don't know if I would call him a dog. 3 for
Can
19.
we can we just talk about the Celtics 76ers series because it feels like neither team wants to win this series. Jason Tatum, from what I've heard, has not been great.
No,
And
he does
then
not.
the Celtics lost game 4 in heartbreaking fashion, which definitely made Bruins fans feel really good about their basketball team.
Yeah.
And right now, like for the 76ers to put up 86 points in a series clinching game, I don't care. You can't tell me, oh, it's good defense by the Celtics. Oh, this or that. You cannot be putting up 86 points. And
You
that's
can't
that
be
you
shooting 23% from the three. Look,
the Celtics had 95 points. You're telling me
yeah.
you couldn't put up 100 points in a game? That's blasphemy. I'm sorry.
Look, I think the Celtics are probably gonna end up winning Game 7, which is about to be played in what is it, 20 minutes almost? Yeah, something like that. In 5 minutes actually. But basically,
But
I
then
think the
after
Celtics.
national anthems, we all the
Right. I mean,
one
it's gonna.
thing that I'll
We're
give
gonna finish this
soccer
podcast, and like they're still gonna be in the first quarter.
soccer at least when they say we're starting at 10, the
They
whistle
start
goes
at
at
10.
10.
Yep.
Hockey, my goodness, it's okay. The broadcast begins at 7:30. Puck drops not until like 7:50. It's terrible. But
Yeah.
continue on.
No, I agree with that. I mean, that's a whole another conversation about sports and timing and whatnot. It's very frustrating, at least for a viewer at home. But yeah, look, I have the Celtics winning. They're a very good squad. But let's talk about the Heat Knicks series, which I hold near and dear because of the Knicks. Look, Julius Randle said in after game 4, like, maybe they want it more than us. And the moment he said that, I was like, what do you mean they want it more than us?
The
Like,
moment you say that, you lost.
right,
I'm
exactly. And
sorry. You say that, we're done.
you saw Jalen Brunson yesterday, got elbowed in the face, right? This guy's completely banged up. They were trying to kill him yesterday. Also, Bam Adebayo with his illegal screens. I feel like we could have a whole conversation on that. But look, the Heat are a very, very good team. They have a lot of 3-point shooters that just don't miss. Jimmy Butler's injured. He's going to have some time to rest. Playoff Jimmy's gonna come back in the Eastern Conference Final. I think the Heat are gonna make it to the finals. They're a really, really good team. Yes, there were games where it was just like, okay, it wasn't which team won, it was more so like which team was worse. But look, the Heat are a very good team. If they really get hot with the three, there's no way of stopping them. Kyle Lowry, Kevin Love, Jamie Butler, Sturgis, Vincent. I mean, the list goes on and on. They're a perfectly well compacted team, and very much remind me of the Florida Panthers.
Can you talk about Jalen Brunson a little bit? Because I know this was something where a lot of people dogged on the Knicks for making that move for, I believe
Yeah,
it was like an offer sheet of some sort. And a lot of people were like, why are you paying Jalen Brunson this much? Why are you going out of your way to
yeah.
do this? But from everything that I've heard and seen, Jalen Brunson was one of the main factors of why this series went six and
He
why the
was.
Knicks didn't get absolutely blown out in the
Yeah, no,
series.
look, Jalen Brunson, picking up Jalen Brunson in free agency was one of the best moves the Knicks have made in years. He changed up the team. He brought, first off, there was a winning culture at the team, but Jalen Brunson just became an X factor in many, many games. Tom Thibodeau not allowing us to play the youth, I think, is an issue that needs to be addressed. But when Randall was slacking, Brunson was running up and down the court. Randall, great player, but look, you could see in the playoffs he had no hustle. He wouldn't go, he wouldn't take contact. He would let Bam Adebayo just dunk on his head. Uh, you know, I think that Brunson was one of the best decisions that was made. The Knicks went all out to get him. They hired his father. They gave a ton of money. He was one of the best picks the Knicks could have made, and they did it. And now, with this type of winning culture, you're able to attract even more and better players. There's rumors, of course, Damian Lillard, as there is every year of Damian Lillard coming to the Knicks. We'll see what happens there if the trade is able to go down. But look, Knicks, as a Knicks fan, I'm very happy with how we did this year. But we have to continue growing and really, the last few games of the season were not what we saw the Knicks in really the first series, where they had a hustle and a drive to win. They were trying to out rebound. They were getting out rebounded. It was just terrible play. Either way, very happy as a Knicks fan overall of the season. Upset about last night's performance, but it is what it is.
So before we move on to the final topic, I want your thoughts. Do you think the Knicks should look to hire a different coach? Should they fire Tom
No,
Thibodeau? Do you like what he's done this year?
no. Look, Tom Thibodeau. Look, you can't fire a coach this early. A coach who's getting the team better, right? We went into the first round. We didn't make it to the playoffs last year. Then we go into the second round now. The team is growing, and I feel like you can't fire the coach unless you see stagnation, unless you bring in all the talent and realize, like, the team's not going anywhere. This team is going places. It's a good team. Maybe the strategy changes next year from a 9-man rotation to 11-man rotation. But overall, I think that really what the Knicks have been doing is right. Continue working out in free agency, continue drafting well, and this team will be a very, very good team, and a team that will be really, again, a playoff contender, and one that will be threatening to, make it into the finals.
Awesome. So we'll see. Hopefully the Knicks can keep taking some steps over this offseason and next
For
year.
sure.
And maybe one day win a championship while Davian is still on this planet Earth, at least above
Yeah.
the planet Earth and not 6 feet below, which I hope never happens. But
Right.
that
Facts.
got really dark really
Immortality.
quickly. Moving on to other things that have died, the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Bye-bye. Hey.
Congratulations, you won a round and you laid an absolute goose egg in the second round. You guys wanted Florida. You got Florida, and they got absolutely hosed in the series. They didn't get blown out in any of the games. I'll give them that. They lost all the games were relatively close, and they're all very good games as well. But Austin Matthews not scoring a goal in the series kind of did them in. The core four didn't show up again.
Yeah.
Tell me if you've heard this story before. I haven't.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. Look, the Leafs they blew it. They didn't show up in the second round. I saw a TikTok skit of like, oh, like we're down in Florida, we're here for a golf trip. Like, no, there's a second round. They laid a giant goose egg. And I mean, I didn't follow the Leafs the entire season. I know that they're a very good squad on paper. They just never show up in the playoffs, and yet again, they didn't show up in the playoffs. But let's give credit to where the credit is due. The Florida Panthers are a threat. They beat Boston. They beat the Leafs. They're a threat.
I gotta say this. Sergei Bobrovsky was a man that a lot of people, including myself, had written off. Just like a man named Geno Smith. And
Yep.
probably to the similar manner, he didn't write back. That man getting put into game 4 or Game 5, which personally I didn't really get at the time. I didn't know why Florida went with Bobrovsky in that Bruins series. I thought Alex Lyon was playing really well. Bobrovsky's been amazing this
Yeah.
playoffs, and he has looked like a completely different player than he has over the past years. There was talks about Florida potentially buying him out. There was talks of let's try to trade him to the Blackhawks who need salary, which never would have happened, by the way, because he has like 4 more years left on his contract at $10.5 million. But all the talk, and I forgot who it was, but some analysts, and the analysts normally are terrible, but I'll give this analyst, I don't know who it was, but I'll give them their credit. In game 4 or 5, when they went to Bobrovsky, they made a very good statement that was, at this point, you lean on your $10.5 million goalie, because if you can't lean on him, then that's just an utter, like, you can't let that happen. You have to
Right.
lean on him. You are paying him $10.5 million in a game, a series deciding game. You go to your players that you are paying the most money, your star players, your alleged star players. They gave that opportunity to Bobrovsky. They came back against Boston down 3-1, and then just like clockwork in this Maple Leaf series, he was an absolute stonewall. Only allowed 2 goals on 53 shots. Another thing too, and I'm sorry to take this away from Florida, because once again, I honestly, as much as I was rooting for the Bruins, I don't have anything against the Florida Panthers. The Toronto Maple Leafs only won 1 game on home ice in the playoffs, which is just absolutely unacceptable with the vibes and with the fans and everything. You cannot be losing 5 of 6 games at home. That's just
Yeah.
unacceptable. It just can't happen. Just like how we were talking about MSG, how the Rangers were losing at MSG, and how it's unacceptable for that team to not show up at MSG. The same thing it felt like happened with Toronto when they went to Scotiabank Arena.
I agree with that. I mean, you can't lose at home, especially in hockey. Like, hockey is one of the sports where I feel like home ice advantage plays a very big role, and really just to not show up in front of your fans who have been for years wishing for you guys to get in the second round, who were the most excited that they have been in years and years and years. To not show up is a disappointment to not only the team and the fans, but then to the entire city of Toronto itself.
So before we get into some of the other series, I do want to also touch on the fact that this offseason is going to be an offseason of great interest for the Toronto Maple Leafs, as they have a wide variety of free agents. The big thing is Austin Matthews and William Nylander's contracts expire after next year, not this upcoming offseason.
Yeah.
And starting July 1st, they have options to negotiate extensions. Austin Matthews also has a no movement clause that kicks in July 1st. So if the Maple Leafs can't work out something, or they fire Dubas and are looking for a general manager, they could be put in a situation where if they don't make a decision on Austin Matthews before July 1st, Austin Matthews can just play out that year, just say, I don't want to get traded. I want to go play for a team in free agency. I want to decide this in free agency. And he could just have the Leafs by the balls, per se, and just not
Right. But
just.
I mean, at the same time, like, let's say halfway through the season he wants to get traded. Why can't he just waive his no trade clause?
He could, but I don't see why. The purpose of that for a lot of teams, in my mind, I think a lot of teams would rather just wait the year for Austin Matthews, because Austin Matthews is a top 5 player in the NHL, and the amount that you would have to give up for a guy of Austin Matthews' caliber might not be worth it to a team
Right,
that has a
but
ton of cap
would it
space
be
that can
worth it
offer him.
knowing that they would stay? Like the Kevin Durant trade, like that Kevin Durant's probably gonna stay with the Suns, right? You know that Kyrie's
You'd have to accept that you'd be paying him $15+ million,
yeah,
because the moment you trade all those assets, the expectation is you sign him to an extension, and that once again he gives Austin Matthews. Austin Matthews has all the cards right now, and come July 1st, if they don't have an extension, he has all the cards. Regardless of what happens, he can pick his trade. He can actually lower. That's a fair point, Davian, though, because he can lower the potential trade package the Maple Leafs could get for himself,
yeah,
because teams could just be like, well, he wants out. He only, like what happened with the Patrick Kane trade. Patrick Kane said, I'm going to the Rangers, and the Blackhawks could only get a second round pick for, with a condition to potentially be a first round pick. Same
yeah.
thing with the Maple Leafs. If Austin Matthews, pardon me, goes to the Maple Leafs after July 1st and says, I would like to be traded, he can just say, I want to get traded to the LA Kings. And the LA Kings can say, okay, we'll give up, I don't know, like Alex Turcotte, a young guy who hasn't really played
Right.
too much, top 5 pick, though. We'll see what happens with him. And like a first round pick. And the Maple Leafs are just going to have to stomach that return, which would be a colossal failure. The Maple Leafs need to change something, but regardless of what happens, they're going to lose any trade that they make trading away one of the members of the core four, but
Yeah.
it's still better. I am always a big thing. Don't make a move to make a move, except for the scenario. I think you make a move to make a move. Moving on, because we spent
I
too
agree
much
with that.
time talking about the Leafs, and we all know the Leafs Toronto media is going to be talking about this for the next 3 years, so we don't need to
Yeah,
touch on this
facts.
too much more. Vegas Oilers, that's been a great series. We can touch on that. Seattle Kraken versus Stars, also a great series. Let's also touch on the Devils Hurricanes before we get into the Western Conference. And the Devils just absolutely had their way with the Devils absolutely got hosed per se by the Hurricanes. The Hurricanes had their way with the Devils. For the most part, aside from game 5, which went to overtime, this was a terrible series because the winning team won by like 4 goals every single game.
Yeah. Look, I mean, it's the Devils. I mean, I want to rip on them, and I do, and I think that they just didn't show up, used up all their energy against the Rangers, did not use any of the tactics that they used against the Rangers, really against the Hurricanes. But the Hurricanes are a good squad. They deserved it much more than the Devils, much more. Look, Rangers kind of choked it up. Should have won that series, but. The Devils are a good team, but they also choked it up. So congrats to the Hurricanes. No further comments. Devils suck. Uh, get a better team. Get a better, yeah.
Devils have $34 million in cap space entering this offseason, and now they do have a ton of players that they need to bring back.
Right, but
Still
respectfully,
having
he wants
$35
some
million.
safer.
I mean, Dougie Hamilton came to New Jersey. Andre Palat was a 2-time Cup winner. Decided to go and sign with the Devils. So apparently, there's a few people who are interested in signing with the Devils, but we'll see what happens. Obviously, the Rangers are the flashier location, but the Rangers have their own cap troubles. Trade Alexi Lafreniere to the Blackhawks for a second round pick, please.
No,
Sorry, I don't know what that was. Sorry, I think someone was talking outside my apartment or something. Sorry. Moving on, let's move over to the West. So tonight we have the Kraken and Dallas Stars, Dinton Stars, as their goal song goes. Kraken need to stay alive. The Kraken have played overall pretty well, but it seems like the magic is wearing off Philip Grubauer. I also want to touch on Jake Ottinger as well, because Jake Ottinger, everyone knows him very well for the series he had last year versus the Flames, where he basically was the only reason why that game went to 7, went to overtime, and the Stars almost won that series. He has not been as sharp this series versus the Kraken. The depth of the Kraken, as we talked about last week, has been showing up.
Yeah.
But once again, the Kraken are on the brink of potentially being eliminated. But I think if you're a
I believe
Kraken
in them.
fan,
I believe in the
you
Kraken.
have to be happy with this. Davian, I know you've become more of a residential Kraken fan across the country. Your thoughts on the Seattle Kraken's play so far?
Yeah, look, I mean, after last year's performance, you're like, dang, like we really need something good, and they did. I mean, the team reformed. They're not a team full of star-studded player. As Raffi, as you mentioned, it's the depth. Look, I mean, I'll say this: I have the Kraken winning tonight. I really do. I think that they go far in these playoffs. I see them winning tonight. I see them pushing to Game 7. I don't see the Dallas really moving on. And again, another disappointment to a Dallas team.
I really think that the Kraken, if they make it out of this round, especially, and if we get like a Kraken versus Vegas conference finals, that's going to drive the NHL to expanding over the next few years. Absolutely. I think it's already in the books. I think it's already being talked about, especially with the fact that the Senators are likely going to be sold for close to $1 billion in all likelihood. I think expanding is going to be right on the mind of Gary Bettman, and I completely understand it right now. The NHL's finally overcome all the hard cap from COVID, all the COVID stagnation in terms of the business side. So now that they're slowly making more and more money again, making that money back, and now making their own money on top of it, seeing the Kraken's success, I think just continues to drive the idea of let's further expand, let's add a few more teams. And yeah, the Kraken, they're on the brink, but once again, I just say if you're a Kraken fan, you can't really be too upset, especially with last year, how that went. It was a bit rough, but this year they've shown great strides as a team. Dave Haskell seems to be the right man behind the bench for that team. They have good depth. Matty Beniers is only going to get better. So if you're a Kraken fan, I think you're just playing with house money at this point. And hopefully they go on a deeper run. They win tonight and win Monday, but we shall see. Moving on to the final series that we'll touch on before closing the show. Vegas versus the Oilers. I need Vegas. I want Connor McDavid to win a cup. But Oilers fans, if there's one fan base that I can't stand more than the Maple Leafs, well,
Oilers
aside from the
fans.
St. Louis Blues,
That
Oilers. Oilers fans are the most obnoxious, or one of the most
hate-
obnoxious fan bases in the NHL. Cannot stand them.
Yeah.
Super annoying. Love Connor McDavid. Love Leon Draisaitl. Cannot stand their fans.
Look,
Hopefully
McDavid.
Vegas can finish this off.
McDavid needs to win a cup. Don't get me wrong. He definitely will someday. Not this
He
year.
could just come to Chicago and win it with us. Like
He could just come to New York and win it with us. You know.
You guys don't have cap space. He has
It's
$60
okay,
million.
It's okay. He'll give up the cap space. It's New York City. Everyone wants
Connor
to play.
McDavid,
It's
8-year,
the
$1
greatest
million
arena in the
contract.
world.
Get ready for it. Connor McDavid signing an 8x8, meaning he'll get paid $1 million.
Okay. Keep
year
dreaming.
for 8
Keep
years
dreaming.
for the New York Rangers to the New York Rangers.
Yes.
I do want
That's
to.
what he's gonna do, and I will
I do
continue
want to
dreaming
mention
about that.
this.
But look, I very much want these Knights to win. I think they will win. That's all I gotta say.
I really, really don't like the NHL because their scheduling is really bad. I like the NHL, and I might be one of their biggest supporters in comparison to what other people talk about the NHL. Why do you have this game, Vegas Oilers, at 9 o'clock tomorrow? Why? It's 10 o'clock Eastern. What are you doing? It's a Sunday. Put the game on at 5. It's still 3 o'clock on the Pacific Coast, and they can just relax in an afternoon game. I don't know why in the world they decided the other games being at night. I get it, 7, 8 o'clock during the weekdays. There's no excuse to be having a game at 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central at night on a Sunday. No one's going to be watching the game. Everyone has work. I'm done with finals, luckily, so I feel great. I have all the time in the world to stay up to watch the game. But why? You had any other time you could have picked for this game, and you chose 9 o'clock. It bewilders me.
I guess you could say it's like prime time. You know what I mean? But I see overall your argument. Yeah.
But you can still have a prime time. Like the Super Bowl starts at what, 6:30 Eastern?
Yeah,
you can have this game played at 7 o'clock, and then it's 5 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock, or yeah. If it's at 7 o'clock Western, 7 o'clock Pacific.
Yeah.
And it's also 5
No,
o'clock.
my math is not mathing today, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's hard to do time. It's hard to do time zones. I'm trying to hop time zones. It's not working out. My point still stands, though. You could have the game at 8 Eastern, and then the game over there would start at 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
So it would all work out. I think it would be fine. But that's going to be a wrap on this edition of the Benchwarmer Sports Podcast, because if I keep talking about time zones, it's going to be a terrible next few minutes.
Indeed.
Be sure to follow us on TikTok, Benchwarmer_sports. We're currently less than 500 likes, I believe, away from 400,000 total likes on TikTok, which is absolutely remarkable. We're hoping to hit that in the next few days, so be sure to go to our videos, like all of them. We'll give you a cookie. I'll personally send you a cookie. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check out some of the YouTube shorts we've been putting up of late. We are back on that grind now that my classes are done with Davian, Theodore, Carlos. They're almost done. They're pushing strong over the next few weeks. So for Davian, for Theodore, for Carlos, for everyone on the Benchwarmer Sports squad, we hope you have a great rest of your day. And
peace.